so today what I want to do is another reaction video. I've done a couple of these. People seem to like them. Um, Obviously, it's not something I do all the time. It's not something that is the main point of my channel. And I want to be clear. These are all my opinions. I had a lot of comments in my last one of people saying, who cares what you think and whatever. It doesn't bother me, but if that's how you feel, if you don't want to hear my opinion and my analysis on what's being said, then I suggest you just don't watch. It might not be for you, and that's fine. Or watch it and comment and say whatever you want. Either way, it doesn't bother me. Just giving you a suggestion is all. I'm not a Michael K hater. I'm not a Yankee hater. But what I do hate is Michael K's attitude when he is explaining things. He always looks at everything through a Yankees lens. He's a mouthpiece for the Yankees while also saying that he's not. That's the issue that I have. We all have issues with different sports media people, right? You can look at WFAN, Sal Licata, Brandon Tierney, Keith McPherson. They're all bad. But we know, like, they know they're bad. It's all for clickbait. They have opinions that are just for clickbait. So Michael K, what he does is he promotes himself as this professional broadcaster who's objective and all that, and he's just not. So I want to get into this today. Honestly, there's some things in here that I agree with K on, but there are a lot of things that I disagree. And what I disagree on is more the attitude, more. It seems as though something short wired his brain when Soto went to the Mets. This video is him talking about Aaron Judge's comments after being asked about Soto's comments about the Mets being in a better position to win. Um, and it's just the mentality that he brings to it is worse than what he actually says. So I'm going to play this. I'm obviously going to be stopping and starting. There might be parts of the video that I cut out because it is pretty long and it's kind of boring. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but I listened to some of it and it's kind of just doesn't hold my interest. But I will play clips and I'll still discuss the things that he discusses, even if I skip past it. But with that, we're going to get going.
Had a better chance to get to the World Series than the Yankees did. And then Aaron Judge was asked about that, and he wasn't angry about it, but he said, well, I disagree. I think we have a better chance of getting to the World Series, but he can think what he wants. So there are so many layers to this. And listen, I think that Soto did the right thing for he and his family. He got the most money. He got a record-setting contract. He's going to be the face of the Met franchise for 15 years. He's essentially going to be a partner of Steve Cohen and Alex Cohen. He has his own luxury suite. His mom has her own clothing line. They have security. I mean, it's a great deal. It would have been tough for him to turn it down. And there were other offers made to him by the Yankees and by the Blue Jays, the Red Sox. I mean, there were teams that were in on Soto because Soto is a once in a lifetime generational player. I should say generational. So that being said,
You see that even when he talks about the whole situation, it's never complimentary to the Mets. Now, what I will say is Michael K has been honest since last season, and he's been very open in his opinion that Juan Soto was going to go wherever he got paid the most money. Now, I disagree with that in certain aspects, right? I think it was always going to be whoever gave him the best deal to a point. If the Colorado Rockies offered him $1 billion, he wasn't going to go to the Colorado Rockies. It had to be the right set of circumstances. A team that was willing to spend, a team that was willing to win or was trying to win, a team that maybe had a good vision for the future. That's why he wanted it all laid out for him before he signed. He wanted to sit down with the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays. What's your plan going forward? Now, I agree. Yes, obviously the Mets gave him the most money, without a doubt. That's a huge, huge part of it. But also, he liked the Mets plan better. Just the fact that you don't believe that as Michael K, that the Mets plan is better, doesn't believe that Soto doesn't actually believe that. So you can say that all you want, but you don't really know. You give the Mets no credit, and that's fine. That's your prerogative. But then don't act like you're being objective because you're not. If you look at the two teams and where they stand right now, I'd much rather be in the position that the Mets are in than the position that the Yankees are in. And listen, I'm a Met fan, so maybe I'm not being objective, but I think if you took a poll, you'd probably get a lot of the same answer.
Rather than come out and say, you know what, I took the Met offer over the Yankee offer because they gave me more, average of $5 million more per year. The contract was worth more. They gave me a lot of perks that I wasn't going to get with the Yankees. It's all legitimate. Instead, he said, I think this team has a better chance to win than the Yankees. And in thinking about it, I've gone over it a lot, and you could say that the teams are somewhat even in terms of talent, right? Because if you look at the Pacoda projections, after the signing of Alonso,
What I notice when Michael Kay says I've gone over this a lot, what he really means he's been trying to justify it in his head. That's what he means. Every time I hear him say that, I know it's probably going to be maybe not a bad take, but a Yankee slanted case.
the Mets Pacoda projection jumped up significantly, and the Yankees and the Mets. If you look at all of the projection sites, there's a difference of 1 or 2 wins. Okay, so they're evenly matched. Now, the Mets have a higher payroll by about $20 million at this point than the Yankees. So I think they're like 324, and the Yankees are 304. So I mean that's essentially a number 5 starter if you really want to break down what $20 million means. Um, but I don't look at how evenly matched they might be because I think the Yankee pitching is so far superior than the Met pitching that puts the Yankees over the Mets. Okay, but you can Yankee boy me all you want. But here's my point.
He's right. Yankee pitching is better than the Mets. There's no real question in that, right? The Mets have question marks. The Yankees have at least a really good front end of the rotation and a good bullpen. Uh, I don't think he's saying anything wrong there.
Here's what I don't quite get. And even a Met fan would have to agree with this. If you're the Mets, getting to the World Series means that you have to get past the Phillies and the Braves in your own division. You've got to get past a much improved Cubs team in the Central. The always pesky Milwaukee Brewers. Watch out for the Reds this year because Terry Francona works his magic. But I don't think that's going to be a huge impediment to the Mets. But I'm just throwing that in there. And then you got to get past the teams in the West, which might be the best division in baseball. The Diamondbacks are outstanding. The Padres are really, really very good. The Giants have improved. And then you've got the $380 million Dodgers. So, in order to get to the World Series, that's a lot of hurdles that the Mets have to jump. And it's going to be like that for a while now. Now, the Phillies, I think their shelf life is a little bit shorter than the other teams I mentioned because their roster is aging quickly. This might be their last year where you can look at them and saying, well, they've got a legitimate shot to win the World Series. After this, guys are hitting ages that it just doesn't seem viable that they can continue to play at this high level. JT Realmuto, Schwarber, Harper, whatever. I mean, you look up and down their lineup, there's a lot of, mid 30 guys there. And that's usually the beginning of the deterioration of skills. Now let's take a look at the Yankees.
This is like kind of a really silly argument to me. Talking about the Mets having a harder, path to the World Series. Obviously, we all know the National League is way better than the American League, but I don't think that's a reason to not pick a team that you think has a better future, right? This year, obviously, it's going to be tougher for the Mets to make it to the World Series. You have the Dodgers, who are clearly the best team in baseball. You have the Braves, who are as close to the Dodgers as anyone. You have the Phillies, all the teams he mentioned, other than the Reds. I don't think the Reds are doing much of anything. I don't care if they have Terry Francona. They're not at the same level as those other teams. No, anyone can surprise. Anyone can. Um, But why wouldn't you want that competition? It's almost like you're scared of the competition, right? The Yankees have always been the team that it's World Series or bust. If you don't win the World Series, it's a bad year. Well, you're just talking about getting to the World Series and then getting smacked by whoever comes out of the National League. The Yankees are if the Yankees were in the National League, they'd be the sixth or seventh best team. They're the best team in the American League, but there's maybe not six or seven. Maybe they'd be fifth. Maybe they'd be sixth. They wouldn't be a top three team in the National League. So I think there's five or six legitimate chances of them, whoever gets there out of the National League, the top five or six teams will beat the Yankees, or at least should. Anything can happen in baseball. That's the same reason why I don't know why you wouldn't want the competition. Anything can happen in baseball. Yes, their path is harder, but a great player who believes in themselves is going to meet that challenge, not run away from it. So this doesn't sound like Yankee attitude to me. This doesn't sound like we're the big bad team in town. That we're not scared of anyone. Well, it sounds like to me if you played in the National League, you'd be scared of the Dodgers and the Braves. I'm not scared of the Dodgers and the Braves. I think they're better, but so what? You could still beat them. Just because a team is better on paper doesn't mean they can't be beaten. So this is one of those weird things where it's being looked at through a Yankee lens and just a weird attitude to have. Like, don't you want to play the best teams? Like, you want to have an easy cakewalk if you're the Yankees through the playoffs and not have to play a great team until the World Series? What sense does that make? Uh, Yes, it'll be easier to get there. Doesn't mean you're going to win it.
Road to the World Series. Does anybody, and this is just for Met fans too, not just Yankee fans, does anybody in the American League really frighten you? Like, say, the Dodgers frighten everybody in the National League. Red Sox are improved with Bregman. They're improved.
We're not scared of the Dodgers. We want to beat the Dodgers. Like I don't understand. It's such a weird thing. You want to you're afraid of other teams? Just go out there and try to beat them. I'd rather play the best.
I think they're a pretty decent team. I don't think they're better than the Yankees. The Orioles are a good team, good young players. They added veteran starters, but I don't think that they did enough pitching wise to really compete for a championship. They will get back Bautista in the bullpen, which is going to be huge for them. I don't care who comes out of the Central because historically the Yankees have owned the Central. And then in the West, I think Texas is going to have a bounce back. DeGrom's healthy. So I think they're going to be pretty good. Houston doesn't go away, although the team that we loathe and love all these years, it's completely different. No Tucker, no Verlander, no Bregman now. Really, Altuve's the one left from 2017. This is a completely different team. And, the Angels have made some improvements, but I don't think they're going to be a factor. So, have I named anybody in the American League that you would be fearful of for the Yankees to get through and go to the World Series? So, then my hypothesis is this: Soto could be looking at the Mets and looking at an owner who has told him, I'm going to spend whatever it takes to win. And he feels good about that, then the Mets are always going to be a competitive team. But you have to look at the road to the World Series, which is the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to win it, but you want to be in it to win it.
I missed it. Did Juan Soto sign a 1 year contract or was it 15 years? Is he only talking about this year? Like, he looked at their plan going forward and understands that they're the better option. They're more likely to win going forward. They have a better plan. You have an owner who's willing to spend whatever it takes to win. You have a president of baseball operations who's one of the best young executives in the game, who, with one of the lowest payrolls in baseball in Milwaukee, was able to make the playoffs every year or close to every year, at least compete for a playoff spot every year. And now he has money to go out there and sign guys. And then you have a manager who should have been manager of the year last year. Let's face it, he was robbed for that. The Mets farm system is miles in front of the Yankees farm system. Who in that situation would you think has a better chance to succeed going forward? Take this year out of the equation. Take this year out. Because, yes, the Yankees are the best team in the American League, and the Mets are not the best team in the National League. What is that? He signed for the rest of his career, not for this coming season. So, this is where I say there's a disconnect there. He's not really speaking truthfully. He's speaking for right now. I don't see that as what Soto was saying in his comments. He wasn't saying this year we have a better chance to make it to the World Series. He's saying over the rest of my career, which I'm signed for, I have a better chance to win here than anywhere else.
So in order for the Mets to win it, they got to get in it. And in order for them to get in it, there's a lot of real big potholes that they have to get through, or landmines, so to speak. So I think the road to the World Series is much more difficult for the Mets and any team in the National League than it is for the Yankees. I just don't see a powerhouse team in the American League that's going to really derail the Yankees. Now, you can lose a 5-game series to anybody. Pick the worst team in baseball, and you could actually lose that series. You just could. Pitcher gets hot, whatever the case may be. But I think Soto is just trying to put a lot of the emphasis on other things why he went to the Mets rather than the most obvious thing, which is all the perks and all the money he got. And I don't think that's anything to be embarrassed about. I don't.
This is such a singular focus. Two things can be true at once, right? You can say, yes, he got the most money and that was the determining factor. You can also say that if he didn't like what the Mets plan was going forward, he wouldn't have even entertained their offer, no matter how much money they gave. If this was still the joke Mets, there's no way Juan Soto would be on the Mets. I don't care how much money Steve Cohen has. So both things can be true. Like I said, I'll give credit where it's due. Yes, he's been saying that from the beginning. Wherever he gets paid the most is where he's going to go. I don't think he ever really thought it was going to be the Mets, to be honest with you, and I don't think Yankee fans did either, right? Yankee fans were saying from the beginning that they would have to be outbid by $100 million for him to leave because who wouldn't want to play for the historic Yankees? 27, you could be next to Babe Ruth in Monument Park. Guys don't care about that anymore. You're living in the past. It's a new day. Yes, you're a global brand. Yes, you're the number one team. So are the Cowboys. Have the Cowboys been good? Like, it's not the draw it used to be. Maybe it is for older players. The young guys, they don't care about that. Do you think Jazz Chisholm cares if he's on the Yankees? He really doesn't. He's going to say he does while he's there. And then when he leaves, he's going to be just as happy somewhere else. Like, it doesn't matter to these guys. So you have to get out of that mindset.
No, I don't know why players come up with these side angles rather than just say, you know what, the Mets offered me the most money. I like the vibe here. I think it's a really good team. I think we get a chance to do a lot of great things. Okay, that's it right there. But you tell me the last time a player said, listen, I went here because they paid.
Isn't that kind of what he said? Like, what do you? He said he has a good chance here. He has like, you're kind of splitting hairs when you're saying that. Like, that's basically what he said.
Me the most money. They don't. And for the most part, they're fibbing. Now, if money is fairly equal, then you could say the stuff like remember Mike Hampton all those years ago? I'm going to Colorado because the schools are better. Never was there more ridiculous thing uttered by a player about taking free agent money than the schools in Denver, Colorado. Like there aren't good schools anywhere. Let's say you don't like the public schools. You can go to the priciest private school in the world. In whatever city you live, you're going to find a great school if you want to pay big money. So that's what I'm meaning when people come up with these angles on why they take the decision to go somewhere and move it away from money. Listen, the Mets offered a truckload of money They treated him like a king. They pretty much told him that they're going to treat him like a king. Hard to turn down. Instead, you come up with, I think the Mets have a better chance to get to the World Series than the Yankees. And if you look at the roadmap for both teams to get to the World Series, that's simply not true. Again, that's not making
For this year, completely discounting the fact that it's over the next 15 years. Just throwing that out there.
the argument that the Yankees are better than the Mets, and I think they are better than the Mets this year. That's not making that argument. So let's just say that they're fairly equal, which is what a lot of the projection systems say. Let's say that. Let's go with that. So if we say they're even, then we can say, well, let's look at, let's plug it into Google Maps, and what's the easiest way to get to a certain destination? The Yankee way or the Met way? And I think even Met fans, unless they're totally biased, would have to say the Yankees have the easier route, even if they're equal teams. Now, if the Mets are,
I just, yes, obviously, we've said it 100 times. This year, sure, they have the better path, the easier path. Once again, this isn't a 1 year commitment. This is a career commitment. Has nothing to even do with this season.
in the American League, then he could say that. Because everything is cyclical. It's like, the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference in the NBA. Everything is cyclical. Things are going to look terrible and loaded one way or the other. Right now, the National League is loaded, and has the most loaded team and possibly the most perfect team assembled in recent years in the Dodgers. Doesn't mean they're going to win the World Series, but you got to get past them.
He just made the exact point that I'm making. 3 years from now, the best teams could be in the American League. Teams change quickly. It changes very quickly. So the American League 3 or 4 years from now could be dominant. And the Mets are still going to be spending money and trying to win in the National League. So does then their path to the World Series become easier? Like, we know this is just nonsense at this point.
And even if you don't even face the Dodgers, you got to get past the Braves to win your division. You got to get past the Phillies to win your division. And the Dodgers aren't the only threat out of the West. There are a lot of teams that are threats out of the West. Now, when we look at the Yankees and the Mets, and things could happen. There's so much time in spring training. Yankees' first game against the Rays is going to be on the Yes Network at 1 o'clock. Can't wait to do it. That's going to be fun. So it's starting. But the big separator between these two teams, the Yankees starting rotation, Cole, Fried, Rodon, Rookie of the Year, and Schmidt, with Stroman as number 6. The Mets, Manaea, Senga, Peterson, Holmes, Blackburn, and Griffin Canning. And Montas is going to miss the first couple of months of the season.
Griffin Canning isn't going to be a starter for the team. Most likely, it'll be McGill. Whatever, it doesn't matter. He's only saying Canning because that's like a trigger for the Yankees because they know how bad he's been. But it's not Canning. Canning is fighting for a roster spot. Basically, he's not guaranteed anything on this Mets team. But honestly, I understand the Yankees pitching is better. I'm not delusional. I have eyes. I can see they have a better pitching staff. But how'd that work out for them last year? The Dodgers had 3 healthy starting pitchers last year, and the rest of it was all done through the bullpen. So I don't think at this year 2025, your starting staff is that needed. You want to have a good starting staff, but if you don't, you can still win. So this whole thing of we have these great pitchers, great. You're seeing guys like Blake Snell getting big time long term contracts, and he pitches 5 innings. Starting pitching is not what it used to be. Every team would love to have the ace that goes out there and gives you 7 or 8 innings every time out, 1 run. Yeah, everybody would love to have that. Most teams don't anymore, and most teams don't pay for those types of guys. It's just not the way baseball is going in 2025. You notice that's why he only talks about pitching, because that's the only advantage that the Yankees have over the Mets.
Come on, what's better? Even Met fans, I need you to tell me the truth. What's better? I know the Mets have a great pitching lab, as do the Yankees. Mets have a really respected pitching coach in Jeremy Hefner, as do the Yankees with Matt Blake. So Hefner was able to get a lot out of a little last year, and the Mets were 2 wins away from going to the World Series. I know,
With a worse pitching staff, they were 2 games away from the World Series. Just pointing that out too.
the argument that Met fans get. Now we have Juan Soto, and we fell just 2 wins short. Okay, but you were 3 outs away from losing to Milwaukee in the first round. And the games you lost against the Dodgers, you got punished. So, yeah, you took it 1 game more than the Yankees took the Dodgers. But the Yankees and the Dodgers, if you line up the stats from that World Series, remarkably equal. You line up the stats with the Mets and the Dodgers, not equal. And now the Dodgers got better. So just say the Mets gave me a better deal than everybody else, and that's why I'm there. 1-800-9.
All right, so that's obviously how that segment ended there. Um, listen, I want to reiterate, I'm not a Yankee hater. I promise you I'm not. I don't really care what the Yankees do. It's of no concern to me whatsoever. I just really think it's very disingenuous for Kay to talk like this. And it's an older kind of concept. And I'm not talking about the age of Michael Kay. I'm talking about the mindset. There's a ton of great Yankee content creators on YouTube. There's a lot of great Yankee fans who understand what's happening right now. Listen, you're still the number one team in New York. You're still a global brand. You're still the Yankees. It's going to continue to be that way. But the problem that guys like Kay and the guys who think like him have is they don't understand, or they don't want to admit that Yankee mystique isn't what it once was. Younger guys don't care about the Monument Park. They don't care about Babe Ruth. That was 100 years ago. They don't care about that stuff anymore. Right now, what a lot of the younger Yankee fans are talking about is, uh, you know, an owner who cares more about making a profit than he does improving the team and going all in and going over the tax to fill holes that he obviously has. A general manager that you guys cry every year for to get rid of, a manager who nobody can stand, but he just got an extension today. It's about moving forward and becoming a premier organization and not resting on what you guys did in the past. What you guys did in the past is amazing. Nobody's ever going to do it again. Nobody's ever going to catch you. But that doesn't mean that guys care about that moving forward. And I know a lot of you understand that. And this isn't me saying that the Mets have taken over and the Mets are the new big guy in town. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you're at an even playing field of all the other teams, not just the Mets, but also the Dodgers and the teams that have money to spend and the teams that run their organization in a smart way. So I don't want this to seem like I'm a Yankee hater. I think you guys are going to be fine. I think your pivot off of Soto was awesome. Cody Bellinger is going to be a monster in that ballpark. Maybe you find something with Goldschmidt. I think the offense is going to suffer for not having Soto. You need a third baseman. The starting pitching is great. I don't think starting pitching is as important as it used to be. I just don't. But in terms of starting pitching, you have one of the better staffs in the league. Um, so really, that's it. I just want to talk about the mindset a little bit. You have to understand that the rest of the league has caught up. It's not that it's not that you're no longer relevant. It's just that you're only as relevant as everyone else at this point. And I think that's what the disconnect is. It's not the Yankees and then everyone else. It's the Yankees and then a bunch of other teams right here. Uh, and that's really all I had today. If you're still here, please subscribe, give me a like, throw a comment. If you think I'm being ridiculous, if you think Kay's ridiculous, let me know. And until next time, let's go Mets.